I love the fact that Whiskey Advocate named this the best whiskey of 2022 just because I can go find this and it's not going to break the bank, and I can try for myself and I can see whether or not I agree. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to give it a shot and we're going to try it and we're going to see if I agree. So off the bat, I love the fact that they keep the label simple. There's enough space in the bottle for me to actually see the color, and I can actually look at the whiskey on the inside. Sometimes that doesn't always happen. I do also love the fact that the front is simple, bonded. That's pretty much all it says. I mean, there's a few different things here and there, bottled and bond 100 proof. But on the side, it actually explains what bonded means. And that's another piece that I genuinely love. I think that that is a very smart thing to do, especially in the whiskey boom right now. A lot of people ask me, what does bottled and bond mean? Does that mean it's a better whiskey, you know, better quality? Or I've heard all types of things in terms of what people think that means. And so I love the fact that they actually educate their consumers right here on the label. They just tell you. They don't expect you to go to the website. They don't expect you to Google it and all this other stuff. They just tell you right on the label what this is. And I love that. They give a few different tasting notes: caramel, rich oak, and spice. Give it a pleasantly lingering finish. So, I mean, they kind of tell you what to look for, what to expect. You kind of know, I think those are kind of generic, but you also kind of know if I don't like something with a lot of spice, or if I don't like the oak in whiskey sometimes, then I kind of know to stay away from this. But either way, I just love the transparency there. I'm also a fan of just anytime any of this is going on with the letters on any bottle. So I do like that fact. So enough talking. It's time to actually pour it up and let's see what we think. So the color, it might be hard to see on camera. I'm not one to kind of go into all the different, oh, this is more of an amber, that's more of a copper color, that's more of a... Some whiskeys look darker than others. Some whiskeys look brighter. Some whiskeys just look like whiskey. That looks like whiskey. A little darker, I would say, than usual. I don't want to say usual. Maybe that's not the best way to put it, but it is darker of a whiskey compared to some others, let's say. But not too dark. So, and that might be, we know this is at least 4 years old. I would say the nose is pleasant. There's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing offsetting about it. There's, it's just smells like a traditional whiskey. I'm not being pulled in a certain direction, right? So sometimes you can smell a whiskey and it may smell too sweet or too oaky or too spicy or too something. And I'm honestly not getting that. I'm not getting too of anything, if that makes sense, right? It's just kind of it seems balanced, and I'm not being pulled in any particular direction. So let's try it. Let's see. Cheers. So I will say there's a little bit more spice than I thought there might be. Overall, I don't know. So I will say my history with Jack Daniels, I actually talked with a brand ambassador one time, and at this particular time, this was a while ago, years ago, they were actually asking me, they said, hey, we've got this barrel proof and this single barrel and single barrel rye and these different things, and would you like to try it? And I said, no, I'm not really a fan of Jack Daniels. And they said, have you tried anything other than our old number 7? And I said, no. I mean, that's what I kind of remember, and I just am not really a fan. And so, being a good ambassador of the company, they actually said, let's try some of our other products. Give us a shot and try some of our other things. And when I tried those other products, I enjoyed every single thing else that they have. I think this is no different. So I think this is a good whiskey. I think it is a little spicier than I thought, but in a good way, in my opinion. I'm one of those people that I like a balance. I don't want it to be a spice bomb, but at the same point, I do like a good balance between that sweet and spice, and see if there's some way that they can level out. The only thing, and this might be because of their process, it is a Tennessee whiskey. Um, so it kind of reminds me of. Well, let's try it one more time. Let's make sure before I say it. Yeah, I mean that that grain that, and not in a bad way, not like in a youthful way. Sometimes things can taste grainy when they're younger, but in my opinion, this tastes like what it smells like when I drive to Kentucky. So I feel like anytime you get closer to a distillery, you roll down the window and you can smell the distillate. It's just kind of like in the air, right? And I really think that this is the taste reminds me of it. I don't want to say that that's what that is, but it just reminds me of that. It almost takes me into a place, right? When I'm tasting this, it's making me think about being in a car, rolling down the window, driving to a distillery, pulling up and just smelling the aroma in the air of that distillery. But again, not in a bad way at all. I think the more that it kind of sits, I would say there's definitely more like fruit notes that I'm getting on this side. Slight brown sugar for me. And again, these notes are all pretty common, but so I'm not really changing the world here, but I think that's what this whiskey is. Maybe. I think it's not bad. At 100 proof, it's approachable. There's some 100 proof bottles that I've had that can still be kind of aggressive. Wild Turkey 101 is one that the proof obviously is very similar to this, but the spice that carries with it makes it feel a little hotter sometimes than what it might be. I think this particular bottle, it's 100 proof, but to me it almost drinks either right there or maybe a little bit below that. It drinks softer than 100 proof in my opinion, making it a little bit more approachable. But for somebody that likes higher proof whiskeys, I don't see anything wrong with this. I don't take a sip and feel like it's watered down. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I think this is a very good whiskey, and I think at the price points, I think the fact that Jack Daniel's has already gone ahead and said that this will be readily available, I don't see anything wrong with this whiskey at all. So overall, I would say if you like Jack Daniel's and you are familiar with Tennessee whiskey and that taste profile, or if you just want to try something new that you haven't tried and you don't want to break the bank and you still want a good quality whiskey, all these different things. If you're in that kind of range, I would say try it. Try it for yourself and see if you enjoy it. I think it's a good pour. I think the price is priced perfectly. I think if you're not used to this, if you're more used to just Kentucky bourbon, I think trying to make the move to this, I don't think it would be it would be too off-putting. But again, if you're not familiar with Tennessee whiskey or Jack Daniel's, I don't know. I just feel like I've met people recently that are that have gotten into whiskey, and that's awesome, but they've only tried Kentucky bourbon, and that's it. And so when you go to try other whiskeys or you try other regions of the country that's making whiskey, you're comparing it to the Kentucky bourbon that you're used to. So I think in that regard, if you were to do that, I don't know that you would like this bottle as much. But again, if you're open and you're just wanting to try something different and you kind of want to see what the hype is about and all that other stuff, I think it's worth a shot. And again, at that price point, I don't know that you can. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You can make a cocktail. You can do whatever you need to do with it, but you're not breaking the bank. So I think it's worth trying it. I think it's worth buying it, honestly. At that price, again, certain whiskeys I think are worth trying in a bar or trying it at a shared pour, whatever you need to do to kind of, a friend's house, whatever it may be that has it. Sometimes I think that it's better to just try it first. again, with the price, with the availability, you can walk in pretty much anywhere and go find this bottle. If you're interested enough to watch this video and other videos maybe about this, then I would say just try it. If you happen to come across it at a friend's house or something like that and you want to try it, yeah, give it a shot. But I don't think you would regret buying it. Again, Whiskey Advocate naming it Whiskey of the Year last year. I don't agree with that, but I do love the approach that they took in doing that. Very solid whiskey, in my opinion. I would rate this, I'd say a 90. So I'm going to rate this a 90 and out of 100. And so if you're not familiar with my rating scale, I don't like all the different categories. I don't like all the math. I do a lot of math in my real job, and I don't want to do math anymore than I have to. I like the whiskey. That's what I'd grade it. I think it's very easy to follow, kind of thinking about school, right? So 90 out of 100 is what I would rate it. I've got no scale. I think it's a 90. There you go. I think this is a whiskey, again, that I'm not mad that I have. I think it's a good pour. I think it's worth the price. I think it's worth the availability. I didn't have to do anything to really get it. I went to the grocery store and I went and bought it. That was it. So given all that and the profile itself, I would say a 90. So again, not mad at all. Really glad that I have the bottle, that I got a chance to try it, and that I got a chance to actually officially review it and share my thoughts. I appreciate you tuning in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.